Hi there, and welcome back. I am on page 22 of this workbook, and you have this unusual picture on page 22. We will get to the picture in just a minute, but before we do that, I want to give you just a little bit of an overview of the government. So if you zoom in with your eye, we're going to be looking first at this legislative branch. So let's just go ahead and write that word up here. This is not under the flap, it's just up here at the top. Legislative. This is a very important word in American history and in American government. Anytime you see legis, Legis, think of laws. So this is the branch of government that makes the laws. The purpose of the legislative branch is to make the laws that you and I have to live by. These officials, men and women, are elected to office, so we get to vote for them. And the legislative branch is called Congress. Congress has two parts, and I want to tell you about those. There are two branches of Congress. One is the Senate, and the Senate has 100 members because each state gets 2 senators. And these folks serve for a term of 6 years. Okay, so the Senate has a 6-year term. The other branch of Congress, and let me put these in boxes just so you can see them clearly. There's Congress that has the Senate. And then the other branch of Congress is called the House of Representatives. Again, these folks are elected representatives. That's a big word to spell. So let me put a box around this one if I can make this work. Well, it put a circle. Sorry. Let's try again. There we go. So Congress has the Senate and the House of Representatives. These are the number of representatives is based on population. So big states with a lot of people have more representatives, and smaller states have fewer representatives. Representatives get to serve for 2 years before they have to run again for that seat. So this is the legislative body, the legislative branch of government. The legislature meets in the Capitol building, and this is spelled differently than capital letters. This is Capitol. And let me fix that. That's hard to read. This is a picture of the Capitol building. Congress is broken into 2 parts. The Senate is on one side and the House of Representatives is on the other side. So this is a picture of the legislative branch. Okay, let's come over here and talk just a minute about the judicial branch. And if you think about the word judicial, hopefully you're thinking about judges. Judge makes me think of court. So this is the Supreme Court and all the other courts in the country. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the nation, but we also include all the other courts. Okay. The Supreme Court positions are appointed by the president, You don't get elected for the Supreme Court. That is an appointment by the president, and that is for life. So a Supreme Court judge does not run out of years until he or she retires or passes away. They have that appointment for life, unless they break the law and are removed. But I don't think that's ever happened. I could be wrong, but I don't believe it has. So the job of the judicial branch is to evaluate the laws. So they decide if the laws are fair and if they align to the Constitution. And I'll tell you about the Constitution in just a second. These justices, the Supreme Court, meet in the Supreme Court building, and that's what you're seeing right here. So this is a photo or drawing, I guess it is, of the Supreme Court building. So those are two of the branches. The third branch is down here on the bottom. This is the executive branch. And this is going to be the president and all of his workers. And so far we have not had a female president. It can happen. We just haven't had that happen yet. But so when I say he, that's because all of the presidents to date have been male. So the president, the vice president, and then the president's group of advisors are called the cabinet with a capital C. And heads of federal agencies. Ambassadors are in this category. Any appointment that the president makes to help him carry out his job would be considered part of the executive branch. The president is elected by the people for a 4-year term. A president can serve 2 of those. So the most any president can serve is 8 years. So one term is 4 years. President lives in the White House. That's the picture that you're seeing there. And his job, or her job, were a woman to be elected, is to carry out laws. So they make sure that the laws are carried out. The legislature makes the laws. The laws. The president carries out the laws. And the judicial branch makes sure that the laws are indeed legal. So we have these 3 branches working together that make all of this happen. And you may be wondering where this came from. Who decided that we were going to have 3 branches of government? It's part of our Constitution, and I want to go ahead and give you some information right here about that. I'm going to change color just because this is separate information. The U.S. Constitution, the United States Constitution, is a document. It is a document that stands alone, so we're going to underline it. Or if we were typing, we would italicize, put it in italics. It is the document that is the law of the land. Everything that happens in America must follow the U.S. Constitution. It was written on September 17th. It was signed. It wasn't written on that day. It was written over the course of many days. 1787. So since that date, since that document was signed, that has been the law of the land. And the reason I put this information in this chapter is because we are talking about the colonies. Once the colonies broke away from England, they had to have a system of laws. So that system of laws is the U.S. Constitution. That is where this comes from. That's the Constitution says there will be 3 branches of government. The Constitution says what each branch will do. So I wanted you to know the 3 branches. You need to know this for a high school equivalency test. Usually I say you don't need to memorize, you don't need to worry, but this one you do. You need to know all the information on this page. And so hopefully we have one more video about this where we'll look at what goes under those flaps, but all of this information is very important. So I will see you in the next clip, and we will look at this funny looking diagram and figure out what it's talking about. So I will see you soon.